Welcome to the Alaskaland podcast, stories from the Fairbanks North Star boroughs past, present, and future, with your host, Mayor Bryce Ward. Each episode, we'll sit down with Fairbanks' most interesting characters for a fascinating conversation about where we've been and where we're going. And now, Mayor Ward.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alaskaland podcast, where we talk past, present, and future of the Fairbanks North Star Borough. We have a special guest today, and we're actually in a special place today, the Fairbanks Noel Wien Library. And we have Miss Melissa Harter, who is our library director here, and we're going to talk all things library in Fairbanks. So, Melissa, thanks for being here with us today, and maybe give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and what brought you into this profession and into this place.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. It's so nice to be with you here today, and welcome to the library. Super excited. I'm always excited when people come to the library. I'm not natively from Fairbanks. I moved here most recently about 9 years ago. My husband was in the military, and that's what brought us here to Alaska. We were stationed here twice, and we fell in love with it, specifically here, Fairbanks. We asked at the end of his career to come back and live here. So I actually have been in libraries over 30 years, working in all different kind of libraries, not just public. As a matter of fact, this is my first public that I've worked in. I had worked in law libraries and academic libraries and all kind of libraries. It's kind of the same, but slightly different. I've come to learn in my life that the public library, after all these years, I've figured out that the public library is where I can do the most good for my community. You know, it helps people every single day. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to help people in Fairbanks because I love the community. And I feel like it's an honor to be able to live in Alaska. It's different. It's not easy. But we choose to be here, and that's very important. And with all of that, I get to try to help people have a better life.
That's great. And is that what drew you to being a librarian? Maybe what's a little bit about your story on
the very beginning? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it wasn't my major in college. I wanted to be a diplomat when I grew up. But it's sort of like, how do I get my own first apartment? So when I graduated from college, looked in the newspaper and took the jobs that I qualified for. And that's how it began, to be honest with you. A law firm was hiring for a librarian, and I went in there and they only required the bachelor's. And so I started to learn the business there. Now, I have to say that even in elementary school, I volunteered in the library. So, and college, I also worked in the library. So there must have been something in the background, but yeah. So that's how I started. So law librarianship for a lot of years, actually. And then I worked in academic libraries. This is when my husband joined the military and we started moving around a lot, just trying to find the job in the town where we were. Worked in university, different kind of things. But one of the most interesting jobs that I took over those years was actually being a virtual librarian. It was for a company, well, maybe you've heard of it, tutor.com. They provide our homework help here now. But they used to hire librarians to be virtual librarians online. And when my kids were little, it worked out perfectly because they would be sleeping and I would take an East Coast shift and I'd be on my computer with my little headset. And all these universities would hire the librarians to be online and answer the reference questions at the time that they needed it, And so being in Alaska, actually, the timing worked out really well for me. The kids were asleep, I got to work. But it was really fun because I had access to all the databases, all of them. It was like a treasure trove of these universities, like these, super fancy universities. So that was really fun. And that job I was able to take with me anywhere that I went, even Korea.
Oh, wow.
So
you were doing online stuff before it was cool.
I might have been doing online stuff before it was cool, actually. Yeah, the whole digital librarian thing started for me when I was at a rather big law firm in Baltimore. I became their because a lot of legal research was turning to be on the computer at the time, and so I became their person, their LexisNexis Westlaw person. And I think it's fantastic because it's a really efficient way to search. So I've enjoyed that sort of thing all along.
That's awesome. And you've brought that here to Fairbanks.
I might have dragged a little bit of that here. I hope it's been helpful. I don't know.
That is awesome. I know we've got some great online programs that we have access through the library system for folks. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll just take a small detour and talk about a few of those.
We have so much. We do have so much here. Starting with, I would start with the catalog just because that did change after I came here. We joined the Alaska Library Consortium. Just to give you an example, we have about 300,000 items in this room here. But when we joined the consortium, and now we have a partnership with 92 other libraries in the state, we have access to 5 million plus items. And that's all the residents of Fairbanks. So that is digital and online, and it really helped us during the pandemic because people were able to make their online holds, through the catalog and receive their items. We had that whole system set up. But beyond that, we have many, 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 many databases that are available to people. If you go onto our website, fnsblibrary.org, actually, they're all on there if you click under databases. And in addition to that, we have multiple methods of getting downloadable material, sort of books, audiobooks, ebooks, things like that. We also have Hoopla that provides movies and music. And so, it really just goes on. And we teach entire courses for this, and it takes multiple sessions to try to get through all of that material. But for Ollie, we teach those courses.
Oh, wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's great. And this is all stuff that's available here at your local library.
Free and here at your local library. Yes, your government at work. That's right.
That's awesome. Well, I would encourage folks to come down and check that out. If you have any questions or have access issues, there's internet's available here at the library as well.
That's right. We have Wi-Fi. It's extended outside of the building as well. But if you have any trouble at all, just stop by the reference desk or give us a call. We'll be happy to help you.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for giving us a little brief rundown there on that. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the history of libraries in Fairbanks, because I understand it's a fascinating bit of history, and it's really a key part of any community, and it's been a part of Fairbanks since the very beginning.
It sure has. It's funny that you should say that, actually. I was going to say that. The libraries in Fairbanks are almost as old as Fairbanks. So we all know that this town came to be basically because of the gold rush. It was a trading post. And so there are a bunch of folks here, and numbers increasing as time went by. 1903, if you can imagine, it was basically a bunch of tents. And the way that it was described in some books that I've read is, I shouldn't repeat it. It was apparently not that great. There was no church. And so the Episcopalians came up here and wanted to have a church here. And so they built St. Matthew's Church. The folks that they brought up to run that, there was a different series of folks, and I'm terrible, I'm remembering names, but I know that Mr. Stuck was one of them, Reverend Stuck. And he was inspired. He was originally from England, but he came here. He discovered that there was absolutely nothing to do except for, the saloons, basically. So it comes out of a sense of they were bored. Boredom almost brought forth the first library. He had a personal collection of between 1,000 and 1,500 books, and he was the reverend there. And so what he did was, when that beautiful church, there's an image of it, was built, he would preach on Sunday, but as soon as that was done, they would take the pulpit, cover it over, and the whole entire thing would become a reading room. And the entire week, day and night, it was a reading room for these folks so that they had somewhere to go other than just the saloon to enjoy. So his personal library was in there of about 1,000 to 1,500 volumes. And he began, I've been reading through some of his writings. He would write for the Episcopalian publication at the time and just sort of consistently ask people to send magazines and books up here so that the collection would increase. I actually have a great picture of the people sitting there reading. I don't know if you want to see. This is a picture of what it looked like when the people would just sit in there and read. And wow. I have a description, if you don't mind me reading it to you. It's just real short. So this is from a book called A Window to Heaven, and it's by Patrick Dean. It describes the library. It's actually a good read for the description of Fairbanks back at the time, but this says, the Archdeacon described St. Matthew's as an exceedingly expensive little church, but an exceedingly useful one, thanks to the reading room. An article in the Spirit of Missions described how after the service is ended, a curtain is drawn across the chancel, tables are moved out on the floor and are piled high with magazines. Along the walls were Stuck's contribution 1,000 volumes of general literature donated from his personal library. In the new reading room, night after night until 11 o'clock or later, 40 or 50 rough-garbed men may be found deep in the fascination of good literature. Stuck, in his articles for outside readers, would request that readings be sent to North. Books, more especially, late good novels. I think it's funny because that's how it started. That's how libraries started in Fairbanks.
That's amazing. Yeah, with a reading room.
A reading room. And there's a little bit of I forgot to mention the other bit. So it was the reading and smoking room.
Smoking is not allowed in the library
currently
anymore.
That is true. And not even vaping. I'm just going to say.
Well, that's amazing. And from this beginnings of the library at the church, there was expansion of this service throughout the community. Correct.
Right. There's more. So we have this church, and it's serving as the local reading room for folks, and it's growing, and the town is growing. Because I believe, because of his writings in that publication, there was a gentleman who in Philadelphia who had never been to Alaska and actually never made it to Alaska. But he was inspired to donate $7,000 to have the new little library built, the log cabin down on First and Cowles. And so he sent that money, and I've read about it now. And he also, and this, I don't know what was going on, but he also specifically not only wanted the library, but there to additionally be a smoking room. So there's something about, so yeah, he allowed us to have this beautiful library that served us for, I believe it was 68 years, from 1909 all the way through 77 when this thing was built. And that journey is incredible because, things don't last forever, especially when they're made out of wood. So they had different iterations of troubles. They certainly had to go through the flood, They discovered that a basement in a library probably isn't a great idea. When they were thinking about building this, they'd already thought about it. They really wanted a basement. They really thought a basement was the way to go. After the flood, not so much. Not the best
Basements
idea.
are not a good idea in Fairbanks.
Not such a great idea. So yeah, this little log cabin lived through a lot of times, the war times and everything, served the population. And you'll find lots of people around here today who remember that library fondly. They went there as a child in the 70s. And from that library, the town just kept growing. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was a bond issue. And I think the state of the building, especially after the flood, the engineers were saying, you really need a new building. It does still last though. Maybe they didn't know. But a bond issue provided for the funds and some other, grants and things like that to dream of having a facility like this. This was, I think, about 40,000 feet when they built it, square feet when they built it. And then in the 90s, there was an addition made. But yeah, it just demonstrates how important libraries are and always have been to this community. They're very, very proud of this library. Noel Wien Library is, I can't tell you how many people tell me it's the best library they've ever been to. There's something about it, and it's just the tradition, I believe, of love of libraries from the very beginning.
And that's the story. It's really amazing to see. I grew up coming to the Noel Wien Library, and the Berry Room. It was a very big kind of hallmark piece of my childhood, and just the stories that are not only lining the walls, but people's hearts that come in and out of this facility, and that come every day. Every day.
Full of people.
It is. It is truly amazing.
Every day. That George C. Thomas Library is funny. The stories that you hear about it, they did not have a public restroom, but they had a staff restroom. And it was, when I started working here, there was a woman who used to work there. And she told me it was her duty every day to go down and break the ice out of the toilet.
Oh my goodness. So if folks are interested, the old library is located just down the street.
Correct.
And it's, I remember when it was a bank. It's not a bank.
Was it a bank? Oh my goodness.
I think the credit union used to be out of there at one time.
I did not know that.
I wasn't around in the 60s, but didn't get to have those memories.
You're a little too young to have used that one.
Yeah.
I think it would be a fabulous coffee shop and sort of print. I don't know. I think it would be lovely because it's right on the river.
It is. It's a beautiful location.
They could call it the library too. So.
Well, let's maybe talk a little bit. So there's more to the Noel Wien Library than just the building that sits here in this incredibly special place in the heart of Fairbanks. But you have there's a branch library in North Pole, and then there's also this special thing called the Bookmobile. So let's talk about those.
Absolutely. North Pole branch, that is just a beautiful library out there. It's our newest branch. It was built about a little over 5 years ago. I know because we had a big party to celebrate. That is just, I don't know, it's just a great example of a community's heart, and the amount of love that went into making sure that they had a library out there. I know the original library was in 1974 in North Pole, and I wasn't here to visit it, unfortunately. But it was very small.
Yes, probably, I've been there too.
Okay. You know that
kind of like a bunch
probably.
of Atcos stacked on top of each other, okay, right?
Yeah. So then, it took some convincing. This is something that I'm learning. I'm a good American. I want things done now. This kind of thing. No, it takes support from the community. It takes work. It takes love. It takes all the things, and all of that brought together. The creation of this brand new, beautiful branch that we have out there. So, and it is a fully functioning branch. It does everything that we do. And people love it. Like, they love it. They'll tell us how much they love it. Hurts our feelings a little bit. I'm just kidding. They love both. All I can say about that branch is the plans that we have for it, and with the military growing and everything like that, I know that it's in the right location to help folks out who live in Eielson, maybe even Wainwright. Just the community of North Pole probably is growing because of the housing situation. So we have high hopes that will just continue to, grow as well and further serve the people.
Well, it's definitely, I think, a heart in North Pole. So I live just down the street, and our kids absolutely love the facility. And the friends that help make it happen too.
I was about to say, the Friends of North Pole are the most amazing organization. They give their lifeblood for that place. They do. They just had a wonderful fundraiser. They did really well. I don't know if
That's
you heard.
wonderful. I didn't hear about that one.
It's an online. Actually, they've moved their Snowflakes and Sweets celebration. They moved it online because of the pandemic, and they've discovered that they can double what they were earning in the other auction that they did. They've done very well. Yeah. So. And then the Bookmobile you asked about, that they've had different iterations of that here. I've seen there's actually an ancient version of it parked over behind the post office on Geist. It's somewhere over there. I should go over there and take pictures. But my understanding, I think about that one, I think Greg Hills told me that one had a hole in the floor and no heat. So I don't know. But they definitely were able to pull together, I think with grant money, the ability to buy this machine, which is spectacular, like a shiny, beautiful, it sort of looks like an ambulance, but it's the Bookmobile, and it's outfitted completely for the staff's comfort and the public's comfort. And that staff is amazing. Every single month they refresh the collection in there, and then they go to the four corners of the borough and park, and families can come in and select materials and things like that. They also it's a very boutique kind of a service. They know their customers very well. So somebody will just make a phone call and say, hey, can you deliver this thing to me? And they will. So, and they serve the senior living facilities and also homebound people who aren't able to get materials any other kind of way.
And so that's the idea behind, for folks that maybe are not familiar with what a Bookmobile is, it's taking the library to you. And this was back before we had the internet and very fanciful things, if you will, that helps true. Aid in that. So, and this is a service we still provide.
Very much so. It's very much alive and growing. And we actually have plans to equip it to be, sort of a hot spot and that sort of thing. But yeah, we're really excited about the future of that thing. It's great outreach, and outreach is one of the subjects that we're amping up here, because public libraries, I would say traditionally probably were a room with a bunch of books in them. And, like the reading room, wait, it's just like that. People would go there, right? It doesn't work that way anymore necessarily. It's not that people won't come to us. It's that how can we best serve our community? If we need to go to where they are, if we need to meet them where they are, we will. if we have staff capacity, we will do that. A good example is we're going out to the schools, and we're tabling at schools so that we can sign people up for library cards there, and sharing the good word of what we do. So, I mean, the Bookmobile is amazing. And by the way, the only one in Alaska.
Really? I did not know that.
It's the only one in Alaska. That's right. We're the second largest library system in Alaska. And we're the largest northernmost library system in the world.
Amazing.
Unless disproven.
Unless disproven, right? Don't come in.
Come talk to me.
So if someone was interested in the services of the Bookmobile, would they just contact the reference desk here
Absolutely.
at the library?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a staff specifically for that. I don't want to say the phone number because I'm going to get it wrong, but yeah, call reference. Absolutely. They'll
So
direct
call
them.
here, and if they're going to be in your neighborhood, they'll let you know. If someone's interested in those services, talk
There's
to
a whole
staff.
schedule. Yeah, I really would suggest people go to our website. Our website is phenomenal. Thank you, Jacob. It's no, it's. Have you guys looked at it lately? It's really amazing.
It is.
The lib guides that we have, they're personally curated by these professional librarians that we have here. These incredibly talented people. To guide you. You are interested in this subject, the list is already there for you. You don't have to do any work, and they'll tell you what we have available. But on our website also will be all of our events that are upcoming and the schedule of the Bookmobile and anything like that. So,
Well, the local library, both online and in person, is the place to be.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the future, what the future for the Noel Wien Library has. I know that there's a capital project or a capital campaign that is matched up with the capital project for expansion. And actually, this place that we're sitting in right now is subject to change.
This
with
is
that.
correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that exciting,
it's so exciting
thing.
Oh my goodness. Oh, where do I start? So, yes, the journey of the libraries from the reading room with the smoking all the way to today. What has happened in the last 44 years since this building was constructed is that everything's different. That's what's happened. So technology, I mean, I don't even need to really tell anybody about how everything has changed. I think the pandemic really highlighted that for people, how to stay in communication and what they need to actually remain relevant and get what they need to get done. I don't know if you heard, I think 90% of people applied for their PFD online this year. I've never, that the pandemic did that, because we always had paper forms here, and we still will, don't worry. But it's, you know what I mean? It's all changed. So this building was constructed with the most wonderful intent. It's very large now since the expansion. It's nice and large. But no longer are we just a room full of books. It just doesn't work that way anymore. We have to serve everybody who needs us in the community. We have to serve everybody. We've done surveys in the last couple of years as to how we can serve better. One of the main things that came out of the survey was that Fairbanks wants us to have a strong collection. So I 100% agree. I don't want to reduce the collection at all in order to, to make space for any new technologies or anything like that. However, we have to have the new technologies. We can't survive without it, and we're not serving our people well if we don't, because we're not setting our kids up for a good future. I was talking to, about this new teen center that's going to be built. So that's my spiel. Anyway, this place where we're sitting right now is the teen area. We've moved it. We changed it so that it's in this corner of the building. But when the renovation happens, this will be an actually closed-in area for just the teens, so that they have their own space, so that they feel comfortable in their own space. They can come here after school. They can engage in constructive activities. They can do their homework. They can learn some new skill or anything like that. There's just a million things that they could do here. And I think that that's what we owe to our teens, to our young people in this town, to make sure that they don't have the time to maybe do something that they shouldn't be doing. Come over here and do something constructive. But this is just the teen area, and changes are going to go down this way. We're going to have an active learning lab, which is essentially a room in which anything can happen. So all the furniture is mobile. You can have paint spraying all over the place and then clean it up. There's probably going to be a hose
Give me a
in
heart
there.
attack, Melissa.
There can be woodworking. There's so many things that we could do with that space. You just have to dream. You just have to dream of what you can do. But for instance, a community member could come in and use it like they rent the auditorium. They could rent it and do a class of any kind. We could have art. It's a really needed space. But some of the most exciting things are going to be happening on the other side of this wall. We're going to be bumping out the Berry Room 4,000 square feet. And I don't know if people have been in here lately, but the little kid books that are in the front of the Berry Room are going to be moved back here, which I keep saying is much safer because it's hard for them to escape to the body of the library, the kids. So they're safer back here. It's going to provide access to the beautiful garden that we have.
Yes.
Parks and Rec, bless them. They just do an awesome job out there. We'd love to be able to use that for programming out there. Why not? We have beautiful summers here. There's going to be another sort of like a programming area that can be expanded and contracted, and for according to the program, how many people attend it. And it'll open from this side, the teen side, so the teens could use it and it shuts off on that side, or the kids can use it and it shuts off on this side. So we're sharing and we're getting along. Much better staff space. And then, of course, in the lobby, we're going to be having a place where people can have a break and have something to, a beverage, and also peruse our books that we sell anyway. We always have those books up there on sale, books that we need to get rid of or whatever. And so this will be a lovely and pleasant place for people to come, maybe meet their friends, bring the kids for a story time, read, whatever, and they can browse those books and have a coffee. So all of these things that I mentioned are actually exactly what came out of the surveys that we've done for the public. These are the things that people have asked of us to provide to them. And so technology, of course, is another thing. So the building being wired properly for the future is probably a good way to set up Fairbanks, for the next 40 years, so that they can grow into this space and use it the way that it will be needed. We know. It's just more and more and more of that. So.
And you had mentioned that the library has done some surveys to kind of hear from folks what attributes they're looking for with the library. And you actually went through a process with the commission and with the foundation to secure a company to help do that organizing. Maybe talk a little bit about that and the benefits that they were able to bring to the table in this discussion of how you think about your libraries in a different way in the new century that we live in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was actually a whole lot of fun to bring the community together to make these choices, because as I've said before, it's not our library, it's their library. The community, they're the people who are going to be living here and raising their children and hopefully having grandchildren here, and it goes on and on and on and on. They need to tell us how they feel about what we can do to serve them. And so in that light, we did surveys with the public. We had a very successful survey with the public in 2018, I think it was. And around that time, we also were planning our strategic plan. So we brought community members, we brought community members, staff, and also people from the commission and things like that into this great big room. And we all decided, where are we going? Given this data from this survey that this is what the people want. Where are we going to go? What are we aiming at here? And so it's actually kind of shocking because we've kind of accomplished some of the things on that strategic plan, which is available on our website, by the way. But so that was all going at the same time, survey, strategic plan. And since it was very clear that we couldn't accomplish what Fairbanks needed us to in the space as it is now, that's when we started talking to the commission and the foundation. Could you help us engage the services of a professional space planning firm? Because, again, I believe Fairbanks deserves a real, not us making it up, but actually somebody who does this for a living. And so we did. We were able. They agreed, and it was. I think you were there that night, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really cool in the assembly that night. But yeah, everybody came together. I think it's so fun to get everybody in the same room and have them hash it out and agree to something in the end. And this is 100% supported by all those people. We developed the plan we gave all of our information to that firm, and they came up with a really neat map for us, which I'll show to anybody if anybody wants to see it. But that's where all these plans are coming from. We didn't just make them up. This is how we're able to fit the services that Fairbanks is asking us to provide into this space. So yeah, that's all of those things, and great. I'm thrilled that it made it into the KIP list, And so right now, they, I believe, have forwarded the money for the planning part of it, and then we hope next year to move forward. Meanwhile, capital campaign, so much fun. we in earnest. The capital campaign has started, and what this means is that we are $2.7 million short on the project, and so we need to raise that. Thank goodness for the Fairbanks Library Foundation. We couldn't do anything without them. And they've stepped up to this game, and 100% of the way they're our partners in this journey. But they've been able to hire professional grant writers and prospectors and things like that. And there's a team of the most dedicated people you'd want to meet in this town on these committees that are working every single month. We meet and move that ball a little bit forward in what we're doing. So far, a couple of big grants have been submitted, and we're working in that light. This is called the quiet phase of the capital campaign. We're being guided by Foraker because the foundation has provided that for us, and so they're helping us do that. It's the quiet part of the campaign, but for sure, Fairbanks will be hearing about this as soon as we get to a certain point in the fundraising.
Well, that is just great, because I can remember when we went through that planning process, and we kind of came up with this idea of like, this is what we want to do to update certain areas of the library, to make these changes, make some improvements and expansions. And then we were able to get that approved by the assembly as a project. We're in the early phases of design right now, and then moving into construction. So it's totally great to see that come to light and come to fruition. And then you had talked about the Library Foundation. Can you maybe explain a little bit of what the foundation is, and then how folks might be able to be engaged both in the capital campaign, and then if they just wanted to be a part of the library? Is there an opportunity for volunteers, for folks to come down and assist?
That is thank you for mentioning that. That's really good. Yeah, no, the Fairbanks Library Foundation, I can't say enough about that group of folks. And it does change a little bit as time. People have different commitments and things like that, but they are always by our side. And their purpose in life is to support the public libraries of Fairbanks. And we're the only ones, so kind of works out. But yeah, they're fantastic. They are I want to say they're an 11-member board. And if you are interested, if anybody's interested in joining, I would go to the Fairbanks Library Foundation website, and they have a form on there to join. It's a very simple process. But yeah, they're always looking for good folks to help. We meet monthly, and they're always by our side. It's not just this. It's been all sorts of things in the past. Since I've been here, I might have been in a different job, but I went to them and I requested a mobile computer classroom because we don't have a computer classroom here. And so they were very generous, and they provided it for us. It's basically a big mobile cart. And at this point, I think we have 20 laptops in there. So since we don't have a facility here for teaching computer classes, we can take that thing, move it into the auditorium, set it up like a classroom, and hold classes. So the foundation provided that for us 100%. And along the way, all the way, I think when they were doing renovations and things, they furniture, that sort of thing. But love those guys, definitely. Just like the Friends. So there's a difference between the Friends and the Foundation. The Foundation is a little bit more less feet on the ground, kind of that kind of thing. It's more fundraising and things like that. The Friends, they will get in there. They will be there. They'll get in there and do the thing at cutting the paper and things like that. So that's the difference between those two.
And so is there a friend of the Friends of the Noel Wien Library?
There is not. And
not?
I have a dream, but there's only so many. I think that we could use one.
Yeah. Sounds like the challenge has been proclaimed. So
maybe after the renovation.
Well, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's someone in the community that just has that passion. Maybe
it ends up being sort of like a team of volunteers, and when we get really fired up here again, past past the pandemic kind of thing, we get full steam, many opportunities for volunteers.
Well, it sounds like a great opportunity for someone. Is there anything that is currently going on here at the library that folks should be aware of? I know, we've had some challenges with the pandemic over the last year and a half now, but the library's been open. We're here serving our community, providing resources as you've been doing through the entire pandemic. The difference is, the doors are open. Folks are able to join, to come in and do their research here, read books, gather information, browse. So maybe are there any existing programs that are happening, or what does the future look like for the next, I guess, for over the winter?
The foreseeable winter.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. There's always something going on at the libraries. And again, the website's probably a good place to check and see what programs we have going on. There's one that I did want to mention to you that I attended this morning that was fascinating, actually. Kitty Berner is one of our reference librarians, and just fantastic. She is helping to teach an OLLI course. You're familiar with OLLI? Osher Lifelong Learning.
Let's maybe talk about it a little bit for folks that don't.
Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, I think it is. OLLI. I know the acronym is OLLI. We work with them every term. So it's a group of it's an organization that provides education to folks 15 up. So retired folks or people with a little bit of time can sign up for these courses. I think it's a nominal fee, but we've worked with them for years and years and years to provide sort of like Library 101 courses, and they're always popular. It's amazing. They're always sold out, And so they actually asked us to provide a Library 102. So that's what Kitty is participating in, along with many of our, pretty much our entire adult services librarian staff. Each person is teaching a different course. But I wanted to mention specifically, Kitty has a course on the history of the libraries in Fairbanks. And she's provided me so much assistance with figuring out what the journey was. But she's going to be doing that 3 times here at Noel Wien Library, I think in November. So if you check on the website, you would be able to come and see. And I've seen her slideshow. It's fascinating, honestly. She has a whole bunch of details. But that's for adults, let's say. We actually are hoping to have a holiday open house on December 3rd from 3:30 to 6 when we close. There may be singing, there will be music, and there probably will be hot cider. So we're going to do that. We invite the community to bring trees here, and it's great. We set up little spots all over the library, and the only rule is they can't have plugged-in lights, but they could have LED lights. So, but it's really, really cool to watch. Like the curling club will come, and they'll have hockey puck. That's not a hockey puck. I don't know. Stuff on it. The Museum of the North.
Curling things.
Yeah, those things. I'm not sure where they are. But so along with the cider, the people can come and see the trees. But all the time, Berry Room is they constantly have kids programs going on. Especially when schools close next week, they have some stuff going on, some really cool crafts. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder. There's a hand over. It's. Oh, you can't see it.
I can't see the hand.
Okay, the teens are having a big treat because we finally have a young adult department. I don't know what to call it, the area. Kate Rose is our young adult librarian, and Heather's assistant, and they are just knocking it out of the park with activities for teens. They're scheduled all the way through the fall. And you just have to get online and find out what they are. But this Halloween activity, people are going to be really excited about. It's a lit hand. It's funny. And North Pole too. North Pole has their own thing going on. We're actually working on a proper newsletter. And so it's going to be sort of a newsletter combined calendar. And it's either going to be coming out December or January so that folks can just pick it up and head on out. Berry Room has always had one. So, but we need one for all the different areas because there's so many things happening all the time. It's hard to keep track. So,
well, that's great, and all of this is available on the website. That's FNSB a great resource.
Yep.
And say that one more time, just for the.
FNSBlibrary.org.
FNSBlibrary.org. So check that out. Look for upcoming events. There's something going to be happening pretty much all the time here,
minute.
And the doors are open for folks to come on down. So, well, Melissa, thank you so much for spending the time here with us to talk about libraries in Fairbanks, to talk about our treasures that we have here with the Noel Wien and the North Pole Branch Library and the Bookmobile. It's just been a complete pleasure, and we're really thankful that you're here leading the library.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Come see me.
All right, thanks.
Fairbanks, oh Fairbanks.
Thanks for listening to the Alaskaland podcast. We hope you found today's conversation enlightening. For more episodes, listen on your mobile device through your favorite podcast app or watch at youtube.com/Fairbanks North Star Borough.
Above the adventure zone.